everyone.
Hello.
And welcome to All Things STEM with Ashley. I'm super excited. This month we are having our Men in STEM series. So today we have our guest Warren Richardson here. Warren Richardson is from Southfield, Michigan. He graduated from Western Michigan University with a major in physics and a minor in mathematics. He has 7 years in facilities management and almost 2 years in aerospace engineering. He is currently a systems engineer for an aerospace and defense company. For his hobbies, he enjoys golfing, traveling, watching TV and movies, and playing video games. So today we welcome Warren and we look forward to hearing about his STEM journey. So
Yes,
welcome.
All right, thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So can you first tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, just a little bit about myself. As I Ashley mentioned, I'm from Southfield, Michigan. But 12 years of my life I actually spent in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay.
Then we moved to Michigan from that time on.
So great, Warren. It was great hearing about yourself and where you grew up. Now I want to ask you what first sparked your interest in STEM and made you decide to pursue it as a career?
Yeah, so it really came back from when I was a kid. As a kid, I was just always so fascinated with how things work, what went into like making it work the way that it worked. And I used to always love like building things, taking it apart, putting it back together, and then just especially, and this is kind of like just a little bit of a backstory, and just like how it was made. That was one thing that really fascinated me. And especially as you know, growing up, we start to see the technology of a lot of things just start to change and advance. So that was just one thing that, as a kid, like I just kind of like always seen and was just always just fascinated with.
I love it. Thank you. So, what inspired you to select physics as your major during your collegiate years?
So it's funny because my major was actually mechanical. Going into college, it was actually mechanical. In high school, I did a dual enrollment program, so I ended up graduating high school with my associate's degree.
Excellent.
So fast forwarding, and this is when I was trying to find a college. At that time, I was actually trying to find a college that would take most of the college credits that I received in high school. But looking back on it, like even when I transferred, yes, they took a lot of credits, but when it counted towards mechanical, it still put me as like an incoming freshman.
Right.
But I just had a lot of credits as an incoming freshman.
Right.
So technically I was classified, I'll probably say around like a sophomore. But when it came to mechanical, still starting from the bottom, and then as like time progressed, I didn't really see a drive too much for mechanical, and then I started to find more of a passion with physics. So ended up switching to physics a little bit late in mechanical, but it did shorten my time. Even though I did do 5 years, it did shorten my time with switching to physics. And I just found more of a love with physics, just with every class that I took.
Excellent. So also, I saw mathematics was your minor. So what intrigued you to do that while you already had your physics major? What motivated
So
that?
I think that anybody who pursues like an engineering major, I think they can relate. If you take like those 2 extra math classes, usually like they'll just give you like the math minor, but when I switched to physics, it was more, I ended up taking like a bunch more math classes.
Oh wow.
So at that point it was like a gimme for me to like receive the math minor because of like the extra math class that I took.
Yeah, can you list some of the extra math classes you had to take with physics?
Let me think.
I'm sorry, I'm putting him on the spot, y'all. Is it like linear algebra? What is something that helped you like get that minor, like you said, the extra classes?
I think one of the hardest ones that I took for sure was theory of computation.
Okay.
And there was a class that was based off of knowing why a problem, like basically knowing why 2 + 2 is 4.
Oh, okay.
And you actually had to elaborate why it equals 4.
Okay.
But in like mathematical terms.
Okay.
Definitely the hardest class I took, but that was one class for sure. Analytical physics was another one.
Oh wow.
It's just application.
Yeah.
And applications of physics, but I'll probably say those two were like the big ones.
Yeah, that's awesome. So y'all check out those if you're ever a physics major or you want that math minor. I didn't even know those existed, what you just named. Either of those two.
Quantum mechanics was another.
Yeah.
Definitely, even just trying to understand like things of that nature. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, were there any challenges you faced growing up that made pursuing a STEM career difficult?
I didn't really start having challenges per se until my college years.
Right.
One of the biggest challenges, when it comes to like the STEM classes, I would say in general, you really got to work hard because those classes really will test your mental, especially if, when you're in school, exams come around, finals come around. It's like you're pulling late nights.
Yeah.
So it definitely tests you.
Yeah.
And then post college, I would probably say, I definitely would say when it comes to applying for different roles, I think that's also because the engineering field it's definitely competitive.
Yes.
So when it comes to that it's a little challenging, but you just have to apply yourself.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. So next I want to ask, can you share any mentors or role models that have influenced your journey in STEM?
I'll say like the first mentor that I've ever had, and this was when I began my journey in the facilities world. His name was Jeff Hotchkiss.
Okay.
And I started in high school as like an intern, and then it slowly started to progress to me becoming part-time and then eventually full-time. But he kind of molded me a lot of like my technical skills, which like just kind of helped me in the long run. And then but as far as like role models, I don't have any role models
That's okay.
at the moment.
I was just wondering.
But I do have like mentors.
Yeah.
I for sure have to give you your credits.
Thank you.
You are one of my mentors. Definitely have been helping me in my journey. Even from the first time that we met, you definitely have gotten me connected. Even just providing me like career advice. Just going forward.
Thank you.
And I also have to throw in another one of my mentors for sure. And shout out to all the women in STEM.
Yes.
I have to Sonia Dallas. She's kind of been giving me like some good advice going forward.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing. So now we're going to get into your accomplishments. What is one project or accomplishment you're particularly proud of during your STEM journey and career?
One thing that I would say that I'm proud of, this would have to be more, I would say like more of an accomplishment.
Yeah.
With the last company that I worked for, I actually saved them money when it came to, like, I would say maintenance procedures.
Yeah.
I ended up doing a lot of things hands-on. Instead of them having a company come out and they have to pay thousands of dollars to make like a lot of different fixes or just ordering things, I kind of just took initiative to learn how to do it and just apply what I learned to actually making those fixes, whether it was like maintenance-wise or just business-wise in general.
That's excellent. Congrats.
Thank you.
Congrats on that. So now I want to talk about how you're a systems engineer now. How did you decide to transition from what you were doing to systems engineering?
Yes. So prior to me becoming a systems engineer, I was actually in like just part of my backstory. Throughout college, I was kind of always going back to my job with the city of Farmington Hills.
Okay.
And that was an internship that I had when I was actually in high school, and then ended up working part-time as a facilities coordinator. So I always would like go back and like work every summer, even every break. Yes, I skipped all the breaks.
Yeah.
Even spring break, I would go back and work.
Ooh, dedication.
Yes, I literally would skip every break. But yeah, so started there, ended up going full-time post-college as a recreation supervisor for aquatics and facilities.
Okay.
So I did about a year in that role, And then at that point, I'm like, okay, I have my major. I'm ready to pursue my career.
Yeah.
And it's like it's time to get. It's like now. I'm not gonna say now or never.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
never too late. I want to put that out there. It's
Yeah.
never too late.
I get what
But
you
for
mean
me,
now.
I felt like it was now for me to kind of take that next step.
Yeah.
And so I ended up resigning from that position. I ended up working part-time just to get a little bit of experience in the industry while I'm applying for other roles.
Ooh, that's
So
smart.
I ended up doing another part-time gig at an aerospace company,
Yeah.
and they manufacture metal powders for like aircrafts and things like that. So I started there, and then like from that time, I was just kind of applying and applying and applying.
Yeah.
Didn't really have a specific role that I would say I was looking for.
Right.
But whatever fit me,
Mm-hmm.
I applied for it, and systems engineer definitely was the one that stood out the most. I can say that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the role I went with. It was the first one that I applied for.
Yeah.
First one I had an interview for.
I love it.
And yeah, so that's kind of how I got into systems engineering.
That's great. Thanks, Warren. So now that you told us how you got into systems engineering, do you mind sharing an overview of what systems
Yes.
engineering is for the audience?
Yeah, so as a systems engineer, just a little bit of an overview. A system engineer maintains, builds, designs systems just to meet company needs. We use a lot of our technical skills to make it more efficient.
Yeah.
I work a little bit more on like the maintaining side, where it just deals with like a lot of trend analysis, pre-development work.
And we're getting into the advice segment and just like looking back over your journey.
Yes.
So what is the best piece of career advice you've received so far, and how has it shaped your path?
Yes, so the best piece of career advice, I would probably have to say you are your own brand. So know your worth and just have confidence in it.
I love this.
And that in general kind of has helped me just as a person, as far as like knowing what I want, knowing what I can do, especially when it comes to, even trying to further move up in a company, knowing what you can offer.
Yeah.
And just being able to like actually sell your skills.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes for just in general, like anybody who feel like, oh, I may not have these skills. Work towards having those skills. With the technology that we have nowadays, we can easily search up and learn a lot of these things. And just to even have like a basic understanding and say, okay, I know a little bit about this.
Right.
All that just kind of builds into your brand. So, just being able to, market yourself good and knowing your worth when it comes to, moving up in the company.
I love it. Excellent advice there. So looking back, is there anything that you would have done differently in your STEM journey?
Yes, so not gonna lie, I do love the path that I did take, on the facility side. One thing that I do kind of wish I did was do internships.
Right.
Do a little bit more, especially knowing that I want to pursue engineering. Do a little bit more engineering internships.
Right.
I kind of throughout my college career, even I did go to a couple of NASB conferences.
Yeah.
But those conferences were a little huge for me, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it made me feel uncomfortable, but
Maybe overwhelmed.
it was a lot, very much overwhelming. A lot of competition.
Yes.
And so it just kind of messed up my confidence a little.
Yeah.
But kind of looking at if I was to talk to my old self, I would definitely just say, like have more confidence.
Yeah.
Do a lot more research. There's a ton of engineering companies out there looking for interns. So, pursue that internship. It doesn't matter if you don't get it. Connect with somebody. Try and get it for the next year, the next fall, next spring.
Yeah.
But definitely taking on that opportunity, because that will help you in the long run, especially when it comes to building those skills.
Yeah. You have such great advice. Warren, have you been involved in any initiatives or programs to encourage youth or underrepresented groups to pursue STEM fields?
Yes. So in college, I actually was a part. It first started with a guy, an engineer from Eaton. He started a STEM program at a middle school, and they focused on a basically an underwater submarine.
Oh, wow.
And they just kind of built it with like piping.
Yeah.
And I would basically just go volunteer every Saturday. I think this started I believe my second or third year. And I would go Saturdays and just kind of, help out.
Yeah.
And then the year after, he actually ended up getting a new role in a different state. And, I love the program so much. And, I was involved with STEM as a kid. And I'm like, somebody has to do it. So I ended up, networking or just connecting with the principal of that school and, just asking, can we keep this program going?
Yeah.
We're going to change it around. So actually ended up calling it SEEP. We had different meanings for SEEP. We call it Saturday Engineering Enrichment Program or Student Engineering Enrichment Program. And it would be every Saturday. And I designed it in a way that the students would, they would have a new STEM project every week.
Yeah.
And I think I did it for about 2 years. Last year it ended early because of COVID.
Okay.
But it was an amazing program. The kids had so much fun.
Yeah.
We got a lot of good feedback from the principal of the middle school. He even said that the students increased their science and math grades.
Yeah.
And it was just nice just to see the dedication of the kids. Because at the school that we were at, like some of the kids would take the bus just to get to the program.
Really?
Yes, they would literally take the city bus just to get to the program.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and like they had such a good time. And shout out to all the NSBE members that supported that. I think average like eight members that would come and assist.
Yeah.
And as far as like the students, we had around, I believe, 15 to 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think around 15 to 20. And it's funny because I was actually coming out of pocket for the program.
Oh, wow.
Even though the principal, he would always say like, there's always budget.
Yeah.
Because, this is like, they really want, the students to, just do more things with STEM.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Hey, that's really cool.
Yeah, so, but yeah,
That's good.
I really believe in, these students are our next generation. Even with the program, I didn't care if you didn't want to major in engineering, you could be a doctor,
Right.
firefighter.
Right.
It was, just meant for kids
Exposure.
Exposure,
Yeah.
definitely. And didn't even focus it towards one group of engineering with the projects. We
Right.
did, like a little chemistry project or
Yeah.
just team bonding, just, teaching them like, different skills to have like, in the world and just kind of get them excited for things.
I love that. And it's great that you hit middle school because that's when I got my introduction into STEM. That's when I originally got exposed to it and pursued my journey with it. So it's amazing that you got to impact them at such a young age. And like you said, they were so driven, they took the city bus.
Yes.
Like that is
Yes.
major. That means y'all created a welcoming environment. And like you said, their grades improved. Like you had so many major impacts. So that's amazing.
And then even like the best part, and I'm kind of sad, like kind of COVID affected it. But we even had engineering companies reach out to us to even take part in it as well. So it's kind of all about, doing, what you're doing now, starting that platform for, that to, just evolve into something more and get more people, involved.
Yeah, involved. I love it. Y'all, so many great things. Okay, so now I want to talk about your program you mentioned. What inspired you to start this program?
Yep. So, like a little bit what I touched on, I just want to, just get it out there, like the idea behind it is to, create a bunch of different STEM projects and bring it to where I have to go from one school or another, or, if a school just wants, STEM projects for kids, but, just providing like the opportunity for kids to just like have these opportunities.
Yeah.
I dropped by a school one time,
Yeah.
volunteering. Unfortunately, I went the wrong day, but
That's okay.
or I believe it was canceled, but I was talking to it was either the assistant principal or the principal, and they're like, yeah, we don't really get many opportunities like this for the kids.
Yeah.
And I was kind of shocked because, STEM is big.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just providing, the same opportunities that I was granted to, being able to provide it for another kid.
Yeah. So what is that? Are you going to still name it SEEP when you start it back? Or is it going to be Warren's own thing? Or you're still pending?
I think it'll be Warren's own thing.
Yeah.
And I'm only saying that because I don't know if I want it to be a Saturday thing.
Right.
Or if it, pop up a random day and, do STEM projects.
Yeah.
That's still in the works.
That's
but
good.
I do know the biggest thing, just want to have like that impact. And, hopefully, it turns out the way that it will.
It will. It's gonna be great.
Just really just having that impact in the community because, again, it goes a long way with our future generation.
It does. Well, good. Thank you. Thank you for your service, your impact, exposing the kids. So now I want to ask, how have women impacted your STEM journey?
Yes. First off, shout out to all the women in the STEM. I can definitely say, I love seeing women starting to run the industry. I love, seeing women, in a lot of these high positions. I can definitely say that's inspirational. Women, you guys y'all are very hardworking. Y'all get the job done. I seen motivation like no other, but definitely great role models, great people to connect with. And as far as my journey, I gotta give a special shout out to my mom and sisters, Bree and Tika. So a lot that I do is for them.
Yeah.
They always push me to be the best. So,
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you. It's great to hear. Now I want to ask, what are 3 tips for success in navigating the STEM industry?
Yes. So the first one, definitely have to say your confidence, and that comes with knowing your worth. That goes a long way, and I'm only saying that because my confidence kind of affected me for a long time, but once I put my mind to it and I gave it a try, I just believed in myself. Whether I know it or don't know it, I know that I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And the second one, networking.
Yeah.
Networking is big in the industry, and I'm kind of just now learning that.
Okay.
But I definitely highly encourage networking. It really doesn't matter what industry it is, but your connections go a long way. The last one, ask questions.
Ask questions.
And this even goes for people currently in the industry. A lot of the seasoned engineers are starting to retire. And it's who are we going to go to for these questions?
Yeah.
Pick their brains. They have so much knowledge. Please pick their brains and, just learn. Because they can teach you things that it took them between 5 and 30 years of their career.
Yeah.
In a matter of a year, in a matter of weeks, but, definitely picking their brain.
Yeah. Thank you, Warren. For our last question, I wanted to ask, what is next for you in your career journey? You kind of just spoke a little on it with how you're giving back into the community.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to share?
As far as my journey, still working on my 5-year, trying to see where I want to be. I do know that I want to end up moving into a manager role.
Yeah.
But I know for me at the moment, it comes with just learning. Right now, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can.
Yeah.
Take those classes that I need to take, or courses, or even just trying to learn as much as I can.
Yeah. Well, good.
So,
That's excellent. That was my last question for you. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we close out today? And you don't have to, but if you want to.
yeah, I gotta say, Ashley, I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
No, this really does have an impact on women in the STEM industry, and also men in the STEM industry. It goes a long way. These are definitely tips and advice. With all the videos that highly encourage you guys to watch everything.
Thank you.
These are tips and just like advice in general that I wish that I knew at a younger age.
Me too.
Because it definitely goes a long way.
Yeah.
And just like, in general, like, don't be scared to get yourself out there. Take notes. Don't be afraid to ask questions. So.
Thank you, Warren. Everyone, thank you for watching All Things STEM with Ashley today. Warren, thank you so much for being a guest and sharing so much great wisdom and knowledge and all that. We appreciate you for coming. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.